When I first made this YouTube channel, I told myself that I would not turn into a professional troll. And 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years later, I lied. I realized today that I'm making a video on the biggest NBA crashouts of all time. And yes, there will be some names that are off this list, but the concept, the fact that I even thought about this, or this even entertained me in thinking about it, I just think it says a lot about me. And honestly, I'm not that mad at it. I'm not that mad at it at all. We get this video to 500,000 likes and I will crash out in real life. What's up YouTube, it's Drew and I'm back with another video, and yes, you read the title correctly. We are going over the most likely to crash out NBA players of all time. These are the list of NBA crash outs. Yes, there are some people that are not on this list. For example, Dillon Brooks, he didn't even make the honorable mentions. Now, my reasoning for that, right, is Dillon Brooks has crash out tendencies, but he is too soon into his professional crash out career that I cannot put him on this list just yet. But if I make a video update in 10 years time, best believe Dillon Brooks is going to be on that video. That's all I'm going to say. But that's just one example. There's a plethora of people that could have been on this crash out list and just did not make the cut. So if you do feel like anybody should be on this video, should be named, should be mentioned, comment them down below and let me know, because honestly, a part 2 would not be crazy at all, because the NBA has seen a lot of people. I could really go back down into the 60s if we really want to talk about crash outs. I could go back down to the first fights ever if we really want to talk about crash outs. So first, we are going to start off with Boogie Cousins, DeMarcus Cousins. Buddy racked up 137 techs and 14 ejections in 11 playing seasons. 11 playing seasons with 137 techs. I remember it was a running joke that a game without Boogie getting a tech was just not a game at all. I feel like he was one of the first players to approach getting suspended for getting too many technical fouls in a season. I just remember this being a narrative. You know, DeMarcus Cousins and KD get into it. DeMarcus Cousins and Markieff. Just imagine that. Remember it. Markieff Morris is the one that ran into DeMarcus Cousins. And who fell? DeMarcus Cousins did not fall. It was like running into a brick wall. And who walked away? DeMarcus Cousins, and that was still a crash out, because at any time we knew that DeMarcus Cousins could have reverted. At this point, he was a reformed man. But next up, we have a pretty young crash out that fits into that Dillon Brooks category, but he just has a lot more crash out experience, and I'm just going to say that's Isaiah Stewart. We all know Isaiah Stewart. He just came into the league with crash out energy. I can't explain it. It's just he came in wanting to fight Giannis, wanting to fight LeBron, wanting to fight all of the Hornets team, wanting to fight Julius Randle, Draymond Green. It's just Isaiah Stewart came in with a plan. Like that clip of him just chasing LeBron around the court like a running back has been edited and played around so many times. It's just hilarious. Crash outs leave you wondering why. Why do it? Why? You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. And this is a crash out. This next crash out didn't even really crash out for real in a game before. It's just the energy behind him. And y'all are all gonna understand when I say his name. It's James Johnson. We all have heard the stories from Udonis has them talking about how James Johnson whooped somebody before in practice, to the Serge Ibaka clip. We could just see that nobody really wanted to mess with James Johnson at all. They did not want the smoke with James Johnson. You saw when Serge Ibaka got into it with James Johnson, what did he do? Nothing. He didn't do anything. Why? It's because bro is a trained MMA fighter. So even though he doesn't have the most techs, the most ejections, whatever, James Johnson needs to be on this list. They literally brought James Johnson in after the Bucks game where Giannis could not get the ball. Just imagine that. You know how funny that is? Because the Bucks did not have an enforcer. And who did they look to? Who was out the league? James Johnson. Now next up, we got Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller, I know you would not expect it, but he racked up 161 techs in his career and had multiple fights and ejections. He had 12 ejections, which is in the top 10 all time. He fought with MJ. He fought with Spike Lee for some reason. Like, we all know the reason why, but like, just think about, like, imagine you go to a Lakers game and they're playing like the Celtics, right? And then LeBron just like does a choke sign at Kevin Hart or something. The Kobe and Reggie fight. And then we got the Miller and Rodman fight. I believe this was what, his first playoff game, and then he just decided to leave Rodman with a receipt after, you know, Rodman clearly was being Rodman. Don't worry, we're going to get to him soon. And of course, this wouldn't be a crash out list without mentioning Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook, it's not even just the things that he does. Like, you can't even equate him to like say a Reggie Miller or even an Isaiah Stewart or Cousins, but it's just the fact that he's just Russell Westbrook. He has 18 flagrant fouls in his career, which is the second most all time. He didn't got into fights with Kobe. He didn't got into fights with the fans frequently. We all know the wars between Russell Westbrook and the NBA fans in general. He didn't got into a fight with Zach Collins. He didn't got into a fight with KD, Dylan Brooks. Like, you name it, Russell Westbrook has done it. This could not be a crash out list without the top crash out himself, Draymond Green. I could make a whole video just talking about Draymond Green. I could literally sit down and make a 20-minute video just critiquing all of Draymond Green's past actions. And the thing is, so listen, he has 20 ejections, right? And he's been ejected every 39 games. That is basically what that says. Every 39 games Draymond Green has played, he has been ejected. That is a crazy average. That is some crazy work, bro. He's basically averaging the same amount of ejections as points a season. It's crazy. Now listen, he will commit the most egregious offense and then argue about it to the refs. Like, we all saw you punch Nurkic, bro. This guy is so crazy that he done punched his own teammate, Jordan Poole. He done punched him in a practice. He just rocked him for no reason. And then he curb stomped Sabonis. And then swore up and down that it was a mistake. How do we see you physically jump to just jump right back down on Sabonis' chest? Like, I get it, he was holding your leg, but really, at least own up to it, you know, at least own up to it. And then, like I said, punching Nurkic just on a 360, saying that it wasn't his fault. Headlocking Rudy Gobert was probably the most random Draymond Green thing I've seen this whole year. In fact, there's like various compilations of just Draymond Green doing stuff. There's like 20-minute compilations. It's so bad, even the NBA has released a compilation of Draymond Green doing stuff. And then, of course, even the trash talk to Paul Pierce, you ain't Kobe, like, that was just crash out behavior, and he didn't even have to crash out. That's just ridiculous. Having the skill to crash out without having to crash out, that is like some Master Oogway level of crash out. Now next, we have the one man that Draymond Green just did not crash out on. It's Ron Artest. Yes, Ron Artest is such a crash out that Draymond Green was scared to fight him. We all remember when Draymond was about to go into his crash out Engage 3000 mode, saw that it was Meta World Peace, that he is not about any peace, and like, let's be real, and then decided against it. We all saw Meta was like, oh, okay, that's what I thought, right? It's bad. That's really bad. But Ron Artest is just, he done swung at a fan. I know y'all did not forget this. He swung at a fan during Malice at the Palace. At a fan. A fan. Who swings at a fan? Ron Artest does. He fights Mel Daniels. I don't know who Mel Daniels is, but in the locker room on the way back after Malice at the Palace, he was fighting him. He was fighting anything in sight. He done elbowed the step back out of James Harden. It's crazy. It really is crazy. And it's so bad that his crash outness seeped into Rasheed Wallace, who was also at Malice at the Palace, and he also swung at a fan. And guess what? He hit a game winner, for example, and then immediately got into a fight. Rasheed Wallace is also a crash out. Wallace had 317 techs throughout his career. That is like the third most all time. And he had 29 ejections, which is the most all time. That is one ejection every 38 games. Rasheed Wallace was on Wilt numbers with this crash out behavior. That's all I'm gonna say. And this wouldn't be a list without putting Karl Malone on, for obvious reasons, if you know what I mean. He has 332 techs all time. That's what I was talking about. He had the meanest elbow of all time. He done knocked out various people with these elbows. And he's also crashed out in the legal system. Alright, next up, we got Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley, 329 techs and 16 ejections on his career. Like, there is not a person that Charles Barkley did not fight. The round amount of rebound was rebounding punches all day. So I'm gonna say, he fought Bill Laimbeer, the bad boy Pistons Bill Laimbeer. He then tackled Shaq. Shaq, 300 pounds. Charles Barkley tackled him with ease. Charles Barkley then held off 3 Supersonics players at the same time and mugged Sean Kemp while doing it. That's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. And then just various fights with Dennis Rodman. It's just like Charles Barkley was just looking for it. He really was looking for that crash out. And it was either the donut or the crash out. One of them was going to get him. Speaking of Dennis Rodman, let's talk about the Detroit Pistons. Listen, the bad boy Pistons have more than several really. They have multiple team compilations of them just doing wicked things to people. Those hands were really fair game. They just had a reputation for just being the ultimate crash outs. And in fact, like, it was like if you put Draymond Green and just copy and pasted him, whether you look at Isaiah Thomas punching people, you look at Bill Laimbeer punching people, you look at Dennis Rodman punching people, you look at Joe Dumars, who was probably on the more chill side and relative to everybody else on that team. You know, like, it was just bad. Rick Mahorn, they were just all on crash out timing. It was a collective agreement to just have Black Air Force energy. It was a collective agreement to get ejected. Bad Boys Pistons, you can't do Bad Boys Pistons without Dennis Rodman. And let me tell you, Dennis Rodman, 210 techs, 12 ejections, crash out. He done fought Ewing. He fought Shaq, where he had to be tackled by his own teammates. Imagine fighting somebody or about to fight somebody and people know that you're such a crash out that they gotta tackle you before you get to it. Like, that's like, you know Pat Mahomes about to throw a touchdown and you're on his team, but you know that you don't need that touchdown right now. And guess what? You tackle him, you intercept the ball. Like, you just stopped his whole flow. You stopped Dennis Rodman's touchdown. It's his crash out moment. You gotta let him do what he has to do. That's all I'm gonna say. It's so bad he didn't crash out against Allen Iverson. Mind you, Allen Iverson is barely 6 feet tall. Crashing out, Dennis Rodman's like 6'9". Crashing out against Allen Iverson, that's some dirty work. Headbutting a ref, that is some dirty work. And then fighting a 7'7" man, and I don't care who you are, unless you are Taco Fall, fighting a 7'7" man, George Murison, that is also ridiculous. Like, Dennis Rodman, the first image that comes to my mind when I think of a crash out is just Dennis Rodman. Even with all the stuff that Draymond Green has done, with all the mishaps, just Dennis Rodman is the top of my head. Because I just can't put it else. Like, I can't picture anybody else. He had the colorful hair. He had the nose rings, the piercings. He done got drunk before every game. Was really trying to crash out his life. And then decided to just crash out in game by being whatever possible. And it's just crazy that he still had a Hall of Fame career doing all that. And that's honestly how Draymond's going to be. He's going to be in a Hall of Fame doing all this crash out stuff. Matter of fact, most of these people on this list are going to be on Hall of Fame. Maybe being a crash out is the way to the Hall of Fame. I am not sure, but if they need a professional crash out, I am ready to be that. I will take a 10-day to fight somebody. You need me to punch LeBron? I got you. You need me to punch Russell Westbrook? I got you. Just, if it gets me to the Hall of Fame, sign me up. That is the end of this video, y'all. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I'm crashing out. Peace.